The first thing I remember is the sound. Not voices, not footsteps, just the sound of a zipper, slow and deliberate, like someone wasn't even trying to hide. I stood there in the hallway, frozen, holding the bag of groceries I'd brought home, and every instinct in my body screamed at me to turn around and leave. But I didn't. I dropped the bag. Apples rolled across the floor, one of them smashing open against the wall. I pushed the bedroom door open with the kind of calm that doesn't feel real, like I wasn't even in my own body. And there they were, Harper and him. A stranger. He didn't flinch, didn't scramble like someone caught doing something wrong. No. He smirked. "She's mine," he said, like it was some kind of victory speech. I should have screamed. I should have thrown him out. But all I did was smile, cold, hollow, and whisper, "Your wife saw the video." The room went dead silent. The smirk vanished from his face so fast, it was almost satisfying. Harper's mouth opened like she wanted to explain, but I didn't give her the chance. I turned around and walked out, my legs shaking so badly I could barely make it down the stairs. The truth is, I'd known. For weeks, maybe months, I'd felt it. The late-night phone calls, the laughter that stopped when I walked into the room, the smell of cologne that wasn't mine. I'm not brave. I'm not strong. I'm just a guy who can't stop hurting. But I'm not stupid. And I'd made sure to get proof. What none of them knew was that I'd sent the footage to his wife earlier that day. I didn't plan to use it as a weapon, not really. I just needed someone else to know I wasn't crazy. And when I looked at him, standing there so sure of himself, I knew I'd just lit the fuse on something much bigger than me. That was the moment I stopped breathing. The moment I realized I wasn't just a husband anymore. I was about to become the guy who blows everything up, my life, hers, his. And I wasn't sure if I cared. I hadn't even sat down when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but I already knew who it was. I could almost feel the anger pouring through the screen. I picked up and didn't say a word. For a few seconds, all I heard was breathing. Then a woman's voice, sharp, steady, but shaking with fury, cut through the silence. "You sent me the video," she said, and it wasn't a question. I could hear a storm behind her voice, like she was seconds away from tearing her whole world apart. "Yes," I replied. My own voice didn't sound like mine. It was calm, too calm. "I thought you should know." There was a pause. Then she laughed, this cold, humorless laugh that made my stomach twist. "Oh, I know him," she said. "But I didn't know this side of him. I hope you're ready for what comes next." And just like that, she hung up. I sat there, staring at the phone like it might explode. I didn't even realize I was shaking until my hands knocked over a glass on the table. I had no idea what she meant, what was coming next. I'd done this thinking maybe it would hurt him the way he hurt me, but suddenly I felt like I'd started something I couldn't control. I heard Harper coming down the stairs. I didn't move. She walked into the kitchen, her face pale and her voice trembling. What did you do?" I didn't look at her. I told his wife. The way her breath caught, the way her eyes widened. I'd never seen her look so scared. And that's when it hit me. There was something I didn't know. Something bigger than just an affair. "What's going on, Harper?" I asked. She tried to speak, but before she could, my phone rang again. The same number. I answered, my voice barely a whisper. "Hello?" "You need to get out of that house," the woman said, her tone now urgent, almost panicked. "If you think this is just about an affair, you're dead wrong. He's not who you think he is." The line went dead again. And for the first time, I felt real fear. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I just sat in the dark living room with a single lamp on, replaying every word that woman had said. "He's not who you think he is." It echoed in my head like a warning I couldn't escape. I kept glancing at the front door, half expecting someone to kick it open. Harper stayed upstairs, probably crying, but I didn't go to her. I didn't want to hear her excuses. I didn't even know if I wanted to look at her anymore. Around 3 a.m., I heard tires screech outside. I froze, my heart pounding. A black SUV had stopped in front of the house. The headlights stayed on, flooding our front yard with this eerie glow. I moved closer to the window and saw him, the guy. He was standing there, alone, leaning against the car like he had all the time in the world. And then, as if he could sense me watching, he looked straight at the window. Right at me. For a moment, we just stared at each other. He smiled. No, not a smile, more like a warning. I wanted to call the police, but my hands wouldn't move. He didn't come up to the door. He didn't shout or threaten me. He just stood there for maybe 30 seconds, then got back in his car and drove off. It felt like he was saying, I know where you live, and this isn't over. When Harper came downstairs in the morning, I was still sitting there, looking like a ghost. We need to talk, I said, but she shook her head, her eyes red and swollen. Nolan, you don't understand who he is. You shouldn't have. Who is he? I cut her off, my voice sharper than I intended. She hesitated, like the words were poison. His name isn't even what he told me. He's married. But his wife? She's not just some ordinary woman. She's connected. He's connected. You don't know what you've started. I laughed bitterly. Connected? What is this, some bad crime drama? But the way she looked at me, terrified, almost pleading, made my skin crawl. Before I could press her for more, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. You made a mistake. No name, no context, just those 3 words. That's when I realized this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. I'd stepped into something I couldn't even begin to understand. And the worst part? I had no idea who to trust, not even my own wife. By the time noon rolled around, I felt like I'd aged 10 years overnight. I couldn't stop pacing the house. Every creak of the floorboards made me flinch. I couldn't tell if I was more furious at Harper for what she'd done or more terrified of the man she'd let into our lives. I kept thinking about that SUV and the way he stared at me, like I was some small animal he could crush whenever he wanted. It wasn't just arrogance. It was confidence, the kind that comes from knowing no one will touch you, no matter what you do. I finally cornered Harper in the kitchen. She was standing by the sink, staring out the window like she was waiting for someone to show up. I didn't even try to sound calm. Tell me everything. Now. Or I swear, I'll call the cops and tell them everything I know. My voice cracked, partly from anger, partly from fear. She turned to me slowly, her face pale and her hands trembling as she clutched the counter. You don't get it, Nolan, she whispered. He's not some random guy. His real name is Marcus Layton. He's dangerous. He has money, influence, and friends who will make you disappear if you keep pushing this. I laughed, but it sounded hollow even to me. Disappear? What is this, Harper? Some mob fantasy. You've been sleeping with a criminal now? She didn't flinch. You think I wanted this? You think I knew what I was getting into? He wasn't supposed to get this close. But once you get tangled in his world, there's no easy way out. And now, because of that video, because of what you did, we're in it together. Her words hit me like ice water. I scoffed. You dragged me into this. You and your lies. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed on the counter. It wasn't a text this time. It was a video message. I opened it, and my blood ran cold. It was me, footage of me taken from outside the house that very morning while I sat by the window. The camera zoomed in on my face, then panned to the door, like a silent threat saying, we're watching. I looked at Harper, my voice shaking. What have you gotten us into? She swallowed hard and glanced at the front door. Marcus doesn't forgive. And now, his wife, she's even worse. I think she's coming for both of us. A car engine roared outside, stopping abruptly. My stomach dropped. Someone was here. When I heard the knock, it wasn't just a casual tap on the door. It was deliberate, like whoever was on the other side wanted me to know they weren't going away. I felt my chest tighten as I looked at Harper. She was standing frozen, her face pale, whispering, don't answer it. But I had to. I had to know who was out there. Every nerve in my body told me it wasn't Marcus. He wasn't the type to knock. If he wanted to get in, he'd just walk through the door like he owned the place. No, this was someone else, and I was about to find out who. When I opened the door, I didn't see what I expected. Standing there was a woman, mid-30s maybe, dressed in black jeans and a leather jacket, her eyes sharp enough to cut glass. She looked at me like she already knew me, like she'd been waiting for this moment. You're Nolan, she said flatly, and I could only nod because her presence felt like a force pressing against my chest. She stepped inside without an invitation, her boots clicking against the floor like gunshots. Harper gasped softly when she saw her. Who? I started, but the woman raised her hand to cut me off. I'm Vivian, Marcus's wife. The silence that followed was suffocating. Harper didn't move, didn't even breathe. I think she expected Vivian to scream, to throw something, maybe even attack her. But she didn't. Vivian didn't look angry. She looked calculated. I saw the video you sent me, she said, her voice calm and terrifying. I've known about Marcus's affairs for a long time. He's careless. But this is different. You exposed him. and now you're on his radar. Do you have any idea what that means? I tried to stay composed, but my voice cracked when I said, if he thinks he can threaten me. Threaten you? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Marcus doesn't threaten. He eliminates problems. And right now, you and your wife are problems. If you want to survive this, you'll listen to me carefully. Harper stepped forward, her voice shaking. Why are you helping us? You should hate me. Vivian turned to her, and the look on her face made even Harper step back. Hate you? No. You're just another one of his toys. I don't waste my emotions on women who fall for him. But Nolan, she looked at me again, and I swear there was something in her gaze that made my stomach turn. Nolan has something Marcus doesn't. That video wasn't just evidence of an affair. It caught something else, something Marcus never wanted on camera. Did you notice it? I frowned, trying to remember every detail of that footage. All I had focused on was them, the betrayal, the rage. I hadn't noticed anything else. What are you talking about? Vivian leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Watch the footage again. Not just the two of them. Look at what's on the dresser, the reflection in the mirror. There's more to this than you realize. And if you're not careful, Marcus will kill to make sure it stays buried. I felt my knees weaken. I didn't even know what to say. Before I could ask more, Vivian's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression hardened. He's coming, she said. And just like that, she walked out the door. I turned to Harper, who looked like she was about to collapse. What is she talking about? What's on that video? Harper just shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. Nolan, I think I made the worst mistake of my life. After Vivian left, the silence in the house felt poisonous. I couldn't sit still. I dug out my laptop and opened the folder where I'd saved the video. My hands were shaking as I clicked play. I'd only watched it once before, just enough to confirm what I needed to see before sending it to Vivian. But now, with her words echoing in my head, I watched it like it was the last clue to a puzzle I didn't even realize I was solving. The footage was grainy, captured by the tiny camera I'd hidden in the corner of our hallway, facing the open bedroom door. I watched Harper and Marcus, their movements slow and deliberate, like they had no reason to worry. My stomach churned with every second. But this time, I forced myself to look beyond them. I looked at the background, the objects on the dresser, the reflections. At first, I saw nothing, just the usual clutter. Harper's perfume bottle, a few books, her jewelry tray. And then I saw it. In the mirror, for just a brief second when Marcus leaned over, there was something on the table he'd set down. A small black pouch, unzipped, with something metallic peeking out. I paused the frame and zoomed in. It wasn't clear, but it looked like a gun. My breath caught in my throat. Why would he bring something like that into our home? I kept watching, and a minute later, when Harper turned to reach for her robe, I saw Marcus do something that made my blood freeze. He wasn't just checking his phone. He was scrolling through photos that weren't his. I recognized one of them immediately. It was of me. A picture of me leaving work last week, taken from across the street. I felt my stomach twist. This wasn't just some guy having an affair. He had been watching me, stalking me. Why? I slammed the laptop shut and looked at Harper, who was curled up on the couch like she wanted to disappear. Did you know about this? I demanded. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. Nolan, I didn't know about the pictures. I swear. But the gun, I saw it once. He said it was for protection, that he was worried someone might try to hurt him because of his business deals. I didn't ask questions. Business deals. I repeated, my voice shaking with disbelief. Harper, who is this man? She hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything I needed to know. He's not who he says he is, she admitted. He's involved in things I don't even want to talk about. He said if I ever told anyone about him, he'd ruin me. But now it's too late. Before I could say another word, my phone vibrated on the table. Another message from that same unknown number. It was a video clip, only a few seconds long. It was me again, but this time, the footage was taken from inside my car. Someone had been inside my car. I felt my heart pounding in my throat as I looked at Harper. Pack a bag, I said, my voice barely steady. We're leaving. Now. But before we could move, the front doorbell rang. The doorbell rang again, long and heavy, like whoever was standing there knew we were too scared to answer. My whole body went cold. I glanced at Harper, who was already clutching my arm, her nails digging into my skin. She whispered, "Don't open it. Please, Nolan, don't." But we both knew I couldn't just stand there. Whoever was on the other side already knew we were home. I walked toward the door slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. I peered through the peephole, expecting to see Marcus or maybe Vivian again, but what I saw instead was worse. It was a man I'd never seen before, tall, clean-shaven, wearing a dark suit like he had just stepped out of a corporate boardroom. But his expression wasn't friendly. He was holding a phone, and as I looked closer, I realized he was showing me a live feed on the screen. It was our house, our living room. But from an angle I didn't recognize, someone had planted another camera inside. I backed away from the door, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. "There's someone watching us," I said, my voice barely more than a whisper. From inside the house. Harper's eyes widened in pure terror, and without another word, she bolted toward the kitchen like she wanted to grab a knife. The man on the porch rang the bell again, this time 3 quick presses, like a signal. My phone buzzed on the table almost immediately. Another message. "You're not listening, Nolan. Open the door. We need to talk." I looked at Harper. What does he want with us? Why is this happening? She shook her head violently, tears streaming down her face. "You don't understand. Marcus doesn't just have affairs for fun. He uses people. He manipulates them until they're trapped. And I think I've done something he wants to bury." I grabbed her by the shoulders, forcing her to look me in the eye. "What did you do, Harper?" Her answer was barely a whisper. "I signed papers for him. I didn't ask questions, I thought it was harmless." But they weren't harmless. They were connected to money, accounts, things that didn't belong to him. "Nolan, if those papers ever come out, they'll destroy him. And now he thinks you have them because of that camera." Before I could even process her words, the man outside stopped ringing the bell and started knocking. Not the polite knock of someone waiting, but the heavy pounding of someone who was done asking nicely. I grabbed my laptop and quickly plugged in an external drive. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I remembered Vivian's warning about what was on that video. I copied the footage again, this time freezing every frame around the moment Marcus set that black pouch on the dresser. When I zoomed in, I saw something I hadn't noticed before, a flash drive tucked under the pouch, as if he'd been hiding it there. It was small, silver, and had some kind of marking on it. "Where's that pouch now?" I demanded. Harper's face went pale. It's in the closet. I didn't touch it after that night." I ran to the bedroom, pulled open the closet door, and sure enough, the pouch was there, tucked behind her shoes. Inside was the gun I'd seen on the footage and the flash drive. I didn't even have time to look at what was on it before the front door shuddered under a heavy kick. Whoever was outside was done waiting. I ran back to the living room, clutching the pouch. "We have to go? Out the back. Now." But the moment I reached the kitchen, I froze. Through the glass back door, I saw another man, dressed just like the one in the front, standing there, waiting. We were trapped. For a moment, everything stopped. The man at the front door pounded again. The glass of the back door rattled under the hand of the one waiting outside, and Harper's breathing turned into frantic sobs. I felt cornered, like a rat in a cage. My instincts told me to give up, to hand over whatever they wanted. But then I remembered Vivian's words. That video isn't just an affair. It's leverage. I grabbed the flash drive from the pouch, shoved it into my laptop, and my screen lit up with a single folder labeled Accounts. When I opened it, I saw spreadsheets, offshore account numbers, names, evidence of something far bigger than Marcus's personal games. This wasn't just a cheating scandal. It was financial fraud on a massive scale. I realized right then, this was my way out. "Harper," I whispered, "we're going to give them a reason to leave us alone. Not with violence, with proof." I pulled out my phone and called the only number I could think of, 911. While the line rang, I started uploading the entire contents of the flash drive to a secure cloud link. The man outside must have heard me because his pounding got harder. "Nolan, open the door, or we break it down." "Yeah?" I shouted back, my voice trembling but steady enough to sound like I meant it. "Go ahead. Because by the time you're through that door, every file on this drive will be in the hands of the FBI. Your boss won't be able to hide behind his money anymore." There was silence. Pure, heavy silence. I kept talking, my words coming out in a rush. "I don't care what you do to me, but I swear, the moment I hit send, your whole empire burns. You think I'm bluffing? Try me." Then, just like that, the knocking stopped. Through the peephole, I saw the man in the suit glance down at his phone, then back at me. Something shifted in his expression, an acknowledgement, maybe even fear. He stepped back, made a quick hand signal to the guy in the backyard, and within seconds, both of them were gone. The SUV's engine roared, and they disappeared down the street. I felt my knees give out, and Harper collapsed next to me, crying into my shoulder. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could actually breathe. The next few days were a blur. Vivian called me again, not to threaten, but to thank me. "You have no idea what you've done," she said, her tone softer now. "Marcus isn't untouchable anymore. I'll make sure he never comes near you again." I gave the flash drive to the authorities, and while I didn't share every detail of my personal hell, I told them enough. They're building a case now, one that might finally take Marcus down for good. As for Harper and me, things aren't perfect. We have a mountain to climb if we're going to fix what's broken, but something shifted that night. She's been honest, painfully honest, about everything, and maybe I'm still too soft, but I want to believe her when she says she regrets all of it. We've both seen what secrets can do, how they can poison everything. Last night, we sat on the porch together, no phones, no lies, just the two of us watching the sun go down. For the first time in what feels like forever, I felt something I thought I'd lost: peace. Maybe I'm still that pathetic husband who trusted too much. Or maybe I'm the guy who finally fought back and won. All I know is this: Marcus is gone, the shadows are gone, and for the first time in months, I'm ready to start living again.